Breaking news today: Russia is actively engaging in an information war in the region. Let this serve as a wake-up call to places where the counternarrative to Russian propaganda is not as widely heard as it is in the West. H. A. Hellyer is a senior fellow at the Royal United Services Institute and Cambridge University in addition to being a Carnegie Endowment Scholar. If the idea of flooding social media with Kremlin talking points and undermining opposition figures sounds familiar, that's because it is. Russia Today, RT, and Sputnik, two state-sponsored Russian television channels, were banned from airwaves, and their YouTube channels were also blocked by the United States, the United Kingdom, and the European Union after Russia invaded Ukraine last year. Russia is doing much better on this front in the wider Middle East, but in the Arabic-speaking world, its disinformation efforts have not received the same attention. When one disturbs the nest of Russian propaganda, they will find the same old stories at work, distorting the public's view. It takes only a few clicks on Twitter to find articles written for Arab audiences that blame the EU and the US for the global wheat crisis, rather than Russia's blockade and subsequent refusal to cooperate. In a similar vein, Russian-operated news channels in the Arab world assured their tens of millions of viewers in the early days of the conflict that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had fled Kyiv. They disseminated a deepfake video of Zelensky in which he urges his soldiers to lay down their weapons and surrender, as well as the long-debunked claim that Ukraine had built secret laboratories to develop biological weapons. The unique strength of social media is that stories like this can effectively sustain themselves, gaining momentum like a rock rolling down a hill. Any tale wrapped in trendy keywords and fueled by outrage can go viral and stay there for weeks or months, earning credibility simply by being around for that long. Pro-regime media outlets and the Kremlin, for example, have spread false news reports accusing the White Helmets of being responsible for chemical weapon attacks in Syria. Soft sympathizers, or users who create social media echo chambers by constantly mentioning certain topics, help spread these narratives further and further, normalizing them with each subsequent use. The same Russian state-funded and supported broadcasting strategy that has been seen in Syria is now being implemented in Ukraine. Many of the false claims circulating on social media can be traced back to Sputnik and RT Arabic. The latter is one of the 5 most watched news broadcasters in the Middle East, and it operates 24 hours a day across 8 satellite stations, just as it did in Europe. Moreover, RT Arabic is one of the most visited news websites in the region, even surpassing Al Jazeera in some months, and its YouTube channel has more devoted viewers than any other RT subsidiary. Since February 2022, RT Arabic's social media platforms have seen an exponential increase in their combined viewership, which now stands at 804 million. Because of its massive online presence, RT Arabic is able to reach young people all over the Arabic-speaking world and indoctrinate them with pro-Kremlin propaganda. Compared to Al Jazeera and the BBC, RT Arabic frequently publishes articles twice or thrice as fast. It appears that the objective is to flood the target audience with information, which is then retweeted and reposted endlessly, drowning out any dissenting opinions. In addition to the major Russian-funded networks, a web of other media across the region acts as soft sympathizers, just as we have seen in the West. Then, these outlets tune and disseminate the topic to local audiences while repeating pro-Kremlin talking points. More than just spreading misinformation about the conflict in Ukraine, these outlets frame Russia's actions as defensive barriers against Western intrusion and portray them as the inevitable victors. These misguided attempts to justify Russia's international aggression are gaining traction in the Arabic-speaking world, where many people are understandably cynical about Western foreign policy. Many in the West, including an increasing number of Republicans and Democrats in the United States, have expressed sympathy for the Palestinians, but Washington's support for Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories makes Western objections to Russia's occupation of Ukrainian territories sound particularly hollow. Even so, in Western capitals, the confident counternarrative to Russian propaganda is so pervasive that it can be difficult to imagine how little it is heard elsewhere. Let this be a wake-up call in comprehending the ways in which Russian propaganda is forging ahead in other parts of the world.